The Outlaw Josey Wales was released in 1976. It is directed by Clint Eastwood, who also stars in the film, along with Sondra Locke, this being the first of 6 movies that the two of them starred together in. The film follows this character of Josey Wales, who loses his family at the beginning of the film to a bunch of bluecoats, which obviously is the North. And as a result, he joins the South and goes on a hunt for these men, looking for them, trying to avenge the death of his wife and his son. But when the South lose the war, obviously the Civil War, they're kind of forced to, he and the men that he's with are kind of forced to kind of give up the game, so to speak, and turn themselves in. He decides not to. Leaves the men that he's with to do so. When they're all wiped out in a flurry of bullets, it only ups his kind of intention to wreak revenge, and also ups the intention of those that were pursuing him to pursue him even further. I like a good Western. Clint Eastwood's done quite a lot of them. Most of his Westerns that I've seen tend to be pretty decent. The better examples of the genre. There's a few things this one does that I feel like a lot of Westerns didn't do back in the day. It's very unusual for me to see a Western in which our main character, our hero, so to speak, is fighting with the South against the North. The North, or the characters that are fighting for the North in this, are painted as quite villainous. They are the enemy, essentially, of our hero. They are the ones who start the film by doing atrocious acts. Obviously, I like that because I feel like, yeah, in the real world, it's not as simple as saying all the people that were on this side were good and all the people on that side were bad. I think a lot of people that got caught up in the war were probably just family men who got dragged into whatever side they just happened to be near for various multiple reasons, not necessarily because of their political stance. I like that. I think traditionally we would have seen, a man who is more kind of northernly inclined, bluecoat inclined, having his family destroyed by someone from the South. Another thing that this film does incredibly well is its portrayal of the Native American, something that up until certainly this time, I mean, like Dances with Wolves is one of the first for me where it kind of really changed my perspective on how Native Americans were shown in movies. But now seeing this film, I see that, yeah, Clint Eastwood did a pretty good job of it many years before. So as I say, this is 76, and we have a couple of characters in this that I think are handled really well. They're played by Native Americans, Chief Dan George and Geraldine Keams. So Keams plays this woman that Wales happens upon. She's kind of been she's been attacked basically by a couple of men, and he saves her, and as a result she kind of just starts following him and kind of essentially just devotes herself to being wherever he is and helping him out. And another character, the other character played by Chief Dan George, is this man, this Indian man who, again, Wales just happens upon as he's going about his travels, as he's trying to escape the bluecoats. He comes across this man, and the two of them have a somewhat kind of edgy relationship to begin with. You don't know if the two of them are going to end up coming to blows, but very quickly they gain a respect for each other and become good friends. But just seeing this man, both of these characters in fact, having a lot of autonomy, having very kind of real distinct personalities, not just kind of, oh, how and all this business. These are people with a sense of humour. These are people with real kind of lived in lives. You feel like you you could get to know these people and like them. Particularly George's character, the interplay that he has with Josey Wales is extremely amusing. Like, he just talks. He just talks and talks and talks to the point that Wales is he just doesn't say anything. He just goes silent and goes to sleep half the time. But this guy he just parrots on. He just won't shut up talking. But a lot of what he's saying is just funny. He's got a real kind of wry sense of humour. You don't often see that. Like, particularly in westerns that I've seen of this age, of this period or earlier, the Native Americans were never portrayed that way. It was all a lot of how signs and... This is a film about the pursuit of vengeance, but it's also a film about family. Whether it be blood family or the family that we pick up along the way, the people we choose to call our family. As I say, across the course of the film, Wales just picks up these stragglers. People seem to be drawn to him, mostly because he ends up saving them or getting them out of a tough spot or whatever, and so they feel like they owe him in some way. He never asks for anything in return, but they just naturally seem inclined to want to be with him and help him out. So across the course of the film, by the time we get to the final act, he's kind of accrued this huge team of people that are willing to go to bat for him. One of those family members is a character called Laura Lee, played by Sondra Locke. Now, as I say, she's done 6 films with Clint Eastwood, most of which I've seen. Since watching this one at any rate. Like I said, I've been on a bit of a Clint Eastwood binge recently. Before watching this film, the only one I'd seen her in was Sudden Impact, which is the Dirty Harry film. Here she's very much more kind of an insular character. Obviously in Sudden Impact she was a woman on a mission of vengeance herself, whereas here she is very much the quiet, shy, retiring type who does come out of her shell as the film goes on. She's willing to take up arms and defend camp, so to speak, by the time we get to the end of the film. But where we first meet her at the beginning of the film, she seems like a very quiet woman who is just going along with whatever her mother is telling her to do. And like I say, because of the events of the film, we see her come out of a shell a bit. I do think there's one particular scene involving her character when she's attacked and Eastwood's character Wales comes to her rescue. I do think there's a certain sense of gratuitousness to that scene in which she's being undressed by these attackers, and I feel like there's certain things there we don't need to see, and like if the film was made today we probably wouldn't see. It's just unnecessary. We know she's being attacked, and to see certain body parts being flashed in that attack, to me, it feeds into that whole male gaze thing. It's just unnecessary, and it kind of makes you feel a bit implicit in what's going on. I don't want to be. It's just not the way I want to see women or treat women. So I get that we have characters that do that, but we don't need to see things from their perspective. I'd rather see things from her perspective. Aside from that moment, really, I had a blast with this film. It was a highly entertaining, character-driven Western, and I liked many of the characters involved. I like this family that is built up across the course of the film, and by the time we get to the final battle, I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for all of them to get out of this alive. If you haven't seen The Outlaw Josey Wales, I highly recommend it. If you have seen it, let me... If you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. Till next time, cracking.
Are you seriously going to end it with that?
Yes, I'm going to end that. I'm going to end it with that.